Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Thunder. This is Two Dads React, and that's my collaboration with Tony from God Rules. And we've been best friends since fifth grade. And we're both dads. We're both lame-o dads. And we're concerned about the world. It's going to HE double hockey sticks in a basket to basket in a basket. How do you say that? Going to HE. That's right. HE double hockey sticks in a basket. And we are precisely 1 week away from the presidential election, which is being touted as the most consequential election in our lifetime. It seems like every election says that, by the way. At least the last, 8 of them or something. The ones that I can remember, they always say, "Oh, this is the one. If we don't get this right, it's always that." And we know Orange Man bad. We know he's a threat to democracy. And yeah, maybe he is a threat to democracy. Kamala is too, though. Perhaps a different kind of threat, but they're both a different kind of threat to democracy, and they both continue the duopoly. The way that stuff is right now is a joint venture. It's joint efforts and joint efforts between Democrats and Republicans. Now, Democrats will point at the Republicans, and the Republicans will point at the Democrats, and that's how they both stay where they are. But it's interesting because there's been a surge in third-party interest. More than 50% of registered Democrats and registered Republicans are saying that they wish that they would like to have a third option. Well, fortunately, there is a third option. Well, there are multiple third options. There are other options. One is a libertarian, candidate. Another one is the Green Party candidate, if that's what floats your boat. Jill Stein she's threatening to perhaps even get as much as 5% of the popular vote. And if she does get 5% of the vote, then that will change things for third parties. That has the potential of changing the dynamic. The rules change, as it were, if a third party candidate can get that kind of support nationally. Now, of course, that doesn't rule out voting third party in local elections and everything else. And understand, I am a third party guy. And I've decided that I'm not willing to play the duopoly game, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to play that game. And it might be the case that you still think that there's hope. I'm not here to squash your hope. A lot of folks like Trump. A lot of folks like Kamala. I have substantive issues with both. But we have a show where we're going to show all kinds of things, different sides of this thing. And I've got a lot of new polls and things that I want to show. And so it's going to be a really good conversation. And so after the countdown, Two Dads React. Let's go. Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. What's happening?
Hey, man. Not much. Just trying to keep my sanity in these days, these times we're in.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna see. It's gonna be, man. I I think we've already had a couple different October surprises.
Oh, yeah.
But I wouldn't rule it out that there might be some more stuff hiding under a rock somewhere.
Oh, man. I feel like they haven't done anything yet. They have done some things. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we had these attempts on, of course, his life. Uh, but I feel like it's just like I felt like there'd be a lot more. I thought there'd be like World War III by now or something. You know what I mean? I thought something big would happen. Like, just the earth starts shaking for no reason, just like we're in the Twilight Zone or something. But it hasn't happened exactly yet, so I feel like we're missing something. I feel like it's the calm before the storm. I think we're just like in the middle of the eye of the storm or something. We're just like, wait, there's nothing happening. And all of a
I
sudden we
don't
get
know,
right out.
man. I mean,
We got like, these like 100-mile-an-hour winds coming here in a minute.
yeah, even with even with these like hurricanes, like
Yeah,
the
that too. I mean,
proximity of them to the
maybe we're
election.
just maybe we're just getting used to all this craziness. It's like, oh, it's a hurricane, and there's an assassination, and it's like we got used to it. It's like it doesn't even seem like anything anymore. It's like everyday normal occurrence now, which is insane because it isn't normal. This is not normal. I mean, this didn't happen back in the old days. Did we have like hurricanes landing in the middle of nowhere where just so happens to be a company bought by BlackRock a month before was going to mine lithium in that exact same area where all the water was dumped? I mean, it's just a weird coincidence, of course, but
Well,
um,
and what was it? 37, 38 tornadoes. Where
yeah.
what was the name? Milton. The
Oh, yeah,
Milton
yeah, 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 yeah. Right,
37,
Hurricane Milton.
38, and like in an area where you never get tornadoes.
Yeah, well, you don't get hurricanes going like that either. They claim
Yeah.
that they do. There was literally 3 since, like, 1880, and they were all, like, category 1 or smaller, and this was, like, a category 5. So they don't it was, like, something extremely rare or, designed or whatever you wanna call it. I don't know what you wanna call it, but it just seems weird how all these companies buy up stuff right around the area this stuff all happens, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
so like in Hawaii with, what was that, a year or 2 ago? Hawaii? That was weird too. Of course, we talked to my channel that they had 200 patents for this type of technology, but we'll get into that another time, maybe.
Yeah, look, and then of course you've got this real investigative journalism actually being done by Candace Owens on this sort of the lineage, the ancestry of
Oh boy.
Kamala Harris, and apparently she has been telling all kinds of stories. And what's amazing is it used to be that something of the magnitude of what she's covering, and she's got receipts, something of the magnitude that she's covering would be everybody would be talking about it. All the corporate media would be running
Yeah.
that story, but it's just like the weirdest thing in the world that misinformation is such the common thing that when you see something that at least you should be looking at this like I need to know at least if this stuff is true, and then if it is true, then why would we be okay with running? Why would anybody be okay with voting for them?
There's also the factor of I've been hearing that word has been traveling pretty quickly, even without the news. I've been hearing about some African American, particularly even women, saying that she's not, of course, black. I've heard that. I've heard people saying that.
Oh
It's
yeah,
on
there's been a
Twitter.
lot of stuff. There's been a lot of stuff on uh, podcast, all over TikTok, all over YouTube, all over
Yeah, there's
social
been
media
some
in
big guys
general.
too, right? There's some big guys too
Well,
talking
I
about
mean,
it.
Candace is pretty big. and
Well, yeah,
she's
of
pretty.
course. I saw some other guy though. I saw some other big
Well,
name.
a
I
lot
don't
of
think it was.
well, let me
Yeah.
tell you this. Let me tell you. Um, I've been saying this from day one. I've been saying this. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been saying this.
You've
Okay,
been saying it for a while. Yeah,
I've been
it's true.
saying it for longer than the other folks. What actually caught Candace Owens' attention was when the media went after Janet Jackson for questioning if she was Black American or not.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so that's what
Dude,
actually caught her attention, and then she started digging.
there
And
was some I forgot what the reason why Janet Jackson. There was some beef between them, right, or something. I'm
no,
trying
no,
to
no, no,
remember.
no, 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 none of that.
There was something
Basically,
about Janet Jackson. I can't remember what it was though. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought there was
okay.
something
So
there.
here's what happened. Um, Janet Jackson was doing an interview for some other project, and she didn't want to talk politics. And this woman started
Okay.
asking her questions about politics and about
Yeah.
Kamala and stuff. And then that's when she brought up, these issues. This thing. Well, I mean, I heard that she's not even Black. This kind of thing. So then the media jumped all over Janet because
Oh yeah.
she didn't say definitively that she thought she wasn't Black. She just said that this is what the scuttlebutt is. And so, I don't know that it's going to make any difference anyway, no matter who gets in. That was her general kind of thing. She didn't want to talk on that topic. She wanted to
She didn't
talk
want
on
to talk. Yeah, and they always try to pull him in too. They did it with Usher too. He was on The View, and he was like, "Look, you just make an informed decision, choose who you want." And then shortly after that, Usher is campaigning for her, and I just kind of got this weird feeling like someone pressured him into doing that. You know what I mean?
there's a lot of weird stuff. And then she's doing bad. I mean, her campaign has done some really phony moves where they packed out this a rally she did in Houston based on people thought that they were going to get a free Beyonce concert. Then
Oh,
Beyonce shows up
yeah.
and she talks, but she doesn't do any music. And and
Where's
and
my
so
free Beyonce?
dude, they're heckling.
Oh.
Look, Kamala's talking. They're heckling her.
I heard she got booed at one of these. I
She
think it
got
might have been
booed.
that
She
one.
was getting
Yeah, she got
booed, and
booed
they were
again.
doing chants and stuff. I think one of the chants was
Beyonce, bring
Scamala.
Beyonce out again, man. Oh my goodness. So maybe they were there only for Beyonce is basically what you're saying.
Right,
I mean, for the most
right.
part.
So
Yeah.
they packed it out. Look, one of the things that her campaign has done, because they realize that she's not particularly popular.
Well, she
One of
was
the
the
things
least
that
favorite candidate back in 20 what was it? I can't remember.
no.
2016.
Check it out, man. Since they have kept track of this information, she has been the least popular. Matter of fact, the most unpopular vice president, more unpopular than Dan Quayle.
Well, that's pretty hard to do. That's an accomplishment right there.
Okay,
Dan Quayle, oh my goodness. I
more
remember he was
unpopular
very
than Dan Quayle.
unpopular. Yeah, he was very unpopular.
So
That's for
it's amazing they went from from zero to all of a sudden, oh, she's so charismatic and she's all like
You know
this.
what it
No,
tells
she's
me?
not.
You know what it
Huh?
tells me, and I haven't said this anywhere. I feel like it shows that those behind, Joe and her are so corrupt that they can't just let people choose who they want. So they put her in there because they already know she's on the team on their team. You know what I mean? She's going to do what we tell her. So they're so desperate to retain whatever contain this whatever genie in a bottle, whatever you want to call it, that they have to pick her, and they don't want you to pick
Well,
anybody. That's
I'm
it
going to tell
tells
you.
me there's a lot of corruption, is what it tells me.
Yeah. So one thing that Candace has been uncovering, and all of this is allegedly, but that Kamala's mother was part of the MK Ultra program, and it's
What?
likely, yeah,
No way! Oh, gal, I gotta cover this. I didn't even know this one.
yeah, she was
Where?
part of this
So
program,
no way,
and
dude.
this is
No
part of.
way. You're talking about the actual real one, the real
Yes,
one that was. Her mom was a part of that.
yeah, And so
You've got to
there's
be kidding me, dude.
look, this is what she's uncovering.
Is
This is
this
what
is
she's
Candace?
uncovering.
She's saying
She
this?
actually interviewed someone,
Candace,
a
that's
guy that
insane.
is a contemporary um, of
That's
Kamala,
insane, dude. That's
and
insane.
yeah, and she interviewed this guy, and he's basically telling all, and he's talking about some of these other weird connections and things. But it turns out that this is what I mean. This is all allegedly. Um, what they're claiming is that basically Kamala from the beginning has been basically she was she was bred to be like a Manchurian kind of candidate.
Oh, come on. Well, okay,
Uh,
I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm not saying it's not true. It could be
uh,
very well true.
I don't know if it is. Look. I'm not. Look. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. All I'm saying is there are things that are far more outlandish that people
Well,
believe
it's kind
than
of funny
that.
listening to this from, and I'm just gonna say, Candace sounds like the people I used to hang out with 8 years ago on YouTube. Because there's a lot of people just like her that used to say all this stuff back 8 years ago, and a lot of them got canceled. Let's just put it that way. They used to say all this. I mean, not specifically about this one topic, but they would talk about the same stuff she's talking about a lot lately. I've noticed she's gotten into some, a little bit of rabbit trails that kind of go way off into left field. I'm not saying it ain't true. It could very well be true. I have no clue. But
Dude.
to say it with no evidence, they will totally jump on that misinformation,
Yeah. Look.
conspiracy,
This is all allegedly. Listen,
right.
all
They'll jump
allegedly,
all
all
over that.
allegedly.
They'll use it to
Okay.
cancel you. They love to cancel people over stuff like
Look,
that.
all
So
allegedly. I can neither confirm nor deny. I'm just saying that check out what the research that Candace is doing. Now,
I'll have
look,
to
I
check that out.
disagree
I
with
didn't know about that. I didn't know about that.
disagree with Candace on a number of things, but she is showing all the receipts. She's done multiple, you know, she's done multiple shows, going really granular, like getting really down to the nitty gritty, showing people's birth certificates, sharing what the process was as far as finding a certain person. She's got people that have done interviews. She found some footage of this woman that was uh, interviewing one of the women that actually knew the grandmother, the actual grandmother of Kamala, and they show her in Kamala's book this phony picture, and she says, "Oh no, that's not her." And then she
Yeah,
goes into
I think that's
details and
true.
talks about who it actually is,
I
and
think
it's
you're
like,
right about that. I think she's on with that. I think she's right. I think that that's not her real grandmother, like you're saying. I'm pretty sure she nailed that. I haven't seen the stuff about the MK stuff, but that's
well,
wild. If it even has any element of truth, that is wild. That is wild. Right? That's
yeah, and
crazy.
then
But
and
I
then
mean,
the
who knows? These people are so out there at the top. Some of these guys I think are Luciferians. They're just some crazy, people at the top. There's some crazy people at the top. I don't know all the stuff they're doing.
well,
We
she
all we all
thinks,
can we can all kind of guess or talk about it, but without real evidence, it's kind of hard to go somewhere with it. You know what I mean? Like I don't like going too far off in these tangents
well,
because you can
she's
fall off
showing,
the edge. Of the, you can kind
check
of
it
fall
out,
off the edge too
check it
far.
out. She's showing receipts. She's showing receipts. So
I
her
gotta go check it
research
out.
with even making that assertion. Now she still says it's allegedly like this. I'm saying
That's crazy.
allegedly, but there's a lot of stuff that points in a particular direction. There's also, there's a lot of claims. So, for instance, her dad, apparently he changed his name. You know,
Oh my
there's a
goodness.
bunch of that kind of stuff.
Can we
And
just get a normal family? Can we just get a normal family from a
no,
normal place and just a normal person? We can't
no,
get that? What's
no.
up
What's
with this,
normal?
man? Because they can't control them. You know what I mean?
No,
That's what it feels like,
no.
right?
All right,
Can't get to do
so
what we tell them to.
yeah,
Right.
we got our tinfoil hats on. We're
Yeah,
tuning in Tokyo and
they're
all that.
secure. They're secure. We got them all on, man.
All right. So here, let's go
Right.
ahead and you have something you want to share first here?
I mean, yeah, actually, we didn't even check that, did we? Let me share screen here.
Yeah, it should have worked.
Yeah, here we go.
All
This is
right.
actually, I just pulled up what you were talking about. I don't know if it's true or not. Let me get it to fit the screen. Here we go. I think that fits sort of. It says something about Kamala Harris' mother, Dr. Shamala. Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
Uh,
Shyamala,
Shyamala
Copeland. Yeah.
worked in this. Now they're saying that what you were talking about. Um, I just feel I don't like to run with this stuff because I remember the old days, and if you don't got stuff to back up what you're saying, and I like the fact that she's backing it up. So, I mean, if you don't back that stuff up, you know what I mean? Like it's just it can become gossip. It can be completely disproven later, and it makes you look bad. It can, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
it
no,
is
I'm
true
just
that
saying.
she was
I'm saying allegedly.
right.
And
Yeah,
I realize, where, what's going on with that, and
I'm much more
so yeah,
careful about that stuff these days because of all the stuff I've seen happen on YouTube. This is Montel Williams with her back in the old days. What was that, the 90s or something? Uh, she was dating Montel Williams, right? And
yeah.
some are claiming that, I mean, there's so many weird stuff going on now. There's people claiming that there's a tape out there now. I don't know if it's true. I guess we'll find out. Supposedly there's a tape of her with Montel Williams doing stuff. I don't want to say what it is, but I think you know what I'm talking about. There's also other rumors out there. I don't know if any of these rumors have any veracity whatsoever. They're claiming Diddy parties. I don't know if it's true or not. Could be completely fabricated. Matter of fact, sometimes the other side loves to fabricate these, put them out there, and then later they'll debunk them to make you all look like idiots. They do that all the time. They have these websites that will put out these rumors, they're fake, and then they'll come back later, they'll own a different website that will debunk their
Yeah.
other website to make you look stupid. I don't know. It could be true though. We don't know. We'll find out, I guess. But I do like the fact that at least Candace is trying to back up what she's saying with evidence. Which, if she wasn't doing that, I guarantee you she would probably already been canceled because they love to cancel people that
Well,
have
then
no
she's
evidence.
demonetized. They already demonetized her. Actually, they demonetized her.
That's not surprising at all.
Yeah, no, but
That's
she
not
got
surprising.
demonetized based on she's, a lot of the stuff that she's been talking about as far as the genocide, the in Gaza, this business. So
Mhm.
she's been, and this is interesting because she is not typical for a conservative, a Republican, right? Because
Yeah.
the Republicans actually, and the Democrats too. I mean, Kamala and Biden are all about, they're Zionists, right? Um, uh, but
I mean, are
she's
they?
like, she's like, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna deal with that. Genocide's
So, I mean,
wrong.
are they though? Are they pro uh, Israel? I guess they are, right? But the
Yeah.
Democrat Party's full of people that are not,
No,
right?
look,
So
man, they're what it is. They are.
it's a mixed bag, man. It sounds like chaos at this
It's
point.
total.
Wow.
It used to be, at least the appearance was, and we know that under the surface this wasn't true. It used to be that the Democrats, they would talk a strong anti-war game. That's not what they do anymore. She
Back in
is
the old days.
freaking, yeah. She's freaking celebrating the endorsement of Dick Cheney
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff
no,
like
no, no,
that.
dude. I literally feel like it's switched. It's like we're in this weird alternate universe, outer limits. Like it went from George Bush to Joe Biden. It's like the same thing. You got the rich companies all backing Joe Biden, just like Bush.
Well,
Same thing. Bush was a pro-war president. Biden's a pro-war president. I mean, it's all the same almost. And you even got all
dude.
these guys, Cheney and Liz Cheney, and the Bushes are all backing her up. I mean, it's hilarious to watch. It's like no one realizes that it switched. It was the same people, they just switched parties. Now they're on the other side. And it's like, it's just really bizarre to watch.
Well,
I mean,
I'm going to tell you something. There's a
they
weird.
used to be the party of free speech too, by the way, back in the old days. They're not
Yeah.
anymore.
So
That's another one.
so the weird thing about the Israel thing. The weird thing is, so
I had to.
you have Christians that believe that there's some sort of connection between Christianity and Judaism, and there isn't. I
Well,
mean,
I mean, loosely, not really
what,
though, but yeah, loosely.
yeah. So it's like this. I mean, if you follow Christianity and just you could just go by the early church fathers, they're going to tell you that the church is the true Israel. That's what they're going to tell you. Okay, so if
Some don't like that though. Some will say the opposite. Some will say that's dominionism, and actually, I agree with you, but some will say that you're not right. I know what you're
no,
saying though.
yeah, no, I mean, but my point is, there's this sort of allegiance to Israel and all
Right,
of this sort of political stuff that Israel does that doesn't even have anything to do with anything religious anyway. So it's like the
right,
stuff
yeah.
gets conflated. So people feel like they have to co-sign, basically co-sign genocide
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
on board with, the religion, you know. So it's like, no.
It was the school. You know what it came from, though, right? You know what it came from? The Schofield Bible. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah,
The Schofield Bible was funded by. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Schofield Bible. Rocca. Is it Rothschild or Rocca? I can't remember which one it was. I think it was. I think it was this one. It was funded by one of the two families. I can't remember which one. Uh, yeah, I think it was. Which one was it? I've pulled it up before. Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember which one it was. One of the two families because they would fund a lot of stuff back in the 1800s, 1900s, early 18 to early 1900s. They were funding a lot of stuff. They funded feminism. They funded the Schofield Reference Bible. I'm trying to remember which guy it was. I'm pretty sure it was the. Goodness gracious, I have the article around here somewhere. I don't have it open in front of me right now, but I've talked about it a million times, and I've shown the article talking about. Yeah, it was Roth. It was the Roth, child. Here, I got it right here. Uh, so it's hard to find this information, but there's a lot of the goofy stuff you see going on in society was all funded by these two families. Okay, Roth, child, Rocco, of course, Feller. I say it that way so that the closed caption is good. But basically, the whole Schofield thing was basically promoting what you're saying. That Israel is an integral part of our faith, and we need to promote it and protect all this stuff. Now, I'm not against the country. I'm not for or against it. I don't
of course, me
think we
neither.
should be. I don't think we should be doing anything over there. I
Right,
think we should spend our money here.
100%. Yep.
So, but a lot of this goofy stuff you see in our society was funded by these two families. These two families are what caused a lot of the poison you see in your society today. Just want to let people know that.
Yep.
Because the Rocca, fellers, they funded a lot of the medical side. Then you have also like, I'll remember in a little bit. But I mean, they funded a lot of stuff you see around you, okay? At any rate, never mind. We'll get into that later. Go ahead and
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that, man.
Okay, so here we go. We're talking about all this election mayhem and insanity and everything else, and all these issues are swirling about simultaneously as we're about to have the most consequential election in your lifetime. That we're about to have another one of those. Of course, everyone is that. That's what they always say. Oh, we won't be able to get back if we go this way. We won't be able to get back. It'll be irreversible. The damage. Everybody says the same thing for every election.
Well, you have to agree though. U.S. doesn't look very good right now.
It
It's
doesn't
looking
look
bad.
good.
It's looking really bad.
Well, but me, I think it's all, I think it's already on a unending decline.
The
I don't think
crap
it's
has
gonna.
hit the fan. The crap has hit the fan, my
I
friends.
think it's already, it's already tanking, and it's not going to get better.
Well,
That's what I
you're
think.
the beam
But
me up. You're like the beam me up Scotty. You guys like it's going to hell. Just beam me out of here. Get me out of here.
right,
All
well,
right.
let's keep going. Here we go.
When passes a bill to restore reproductive freedoms as President of the United States, I will so proudly sign it into law. This is a healthcare crisis, and Donald Trump is the architect of this crisis. He brags about overturning Roe v. Wade.
Honestly, some of them are going much more liberal. Like in Ohio, I would have thought it might
Some of them
be
are not.
different. And some of them are not, but it's going to be redone. I agree. They're too tough. I'm the father of IVF.
We must reform our immigration system to ensure that it works in an orderly way, that it is humane, and that it makes our country stronger. Protect our dreamers and understand we can do both. Create an earned pathway to citizenship and ensure our border is secure.
We're going to have the largest deportation in the history of our country. I will end the illegal immigration crisis by closing our border and finishing the wall.
We will create what I call an opportunity economy, where everyone has the chance to compete and a chance to succeed. I believe companies need to play by the rules, respect the rights of workers and unions, and abide by fair competition.
We're going to let you keep 100% of your tip income and not be harassed.
If you don't make your product here, then you will have to pay a tariff, a very substantial tariff, when you send your product into the United States.
As president, I will stand strong with Ukraine and our NATO allies. Now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done.
I will end every single international crisis that the current administration has created, including the horrible war with Russia and Ukraine, which would have never happened if I was president. I believe that Israel will be wiped off the face of the earth if I don't win.
Right, check this out, man. I think did you watch the Joe Rogan interview of him or no?
I did, and I'm covering it in my morning shows.
All right, that's cool.
All week this week.
Sweet, man. I watched only 1 hour of it. I only watched the first hour, but
it's very good.
Yeah, I think tariffs are an excellent way forward.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And he actually said here, did you float? Joe Rogan asked him, did you float the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs? Were you serious about that? Donald Trump said, sure, why not? Now, he's not saying he's going to do this right away, because he actually says he's going to lower it to 15%. I actually think he can do it. And the reason why I think so is because of evidence of things he did in his last 4 years, because he said, or what he did is he basically stopped war from happening. And he did it by defunding Iran and making them completely broke using tariffs, right? And what's interesting is he actually stopped a massive Chinese auto factory from being built in Mexico by simply saying, I'm going to basically 100%, 200% tariff it, meaning every car that comes from that new huge factory into America cost 2 to 3 times the price that they were expecting, and they canceled the project, which shows you that these tariffs
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that was a great point that he made.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, that was a great point that he made. And he was talking about who was it the president that was the tariff president that he cited?
I can't remember.
I can't remember the guy.
1880s or something.
Yeah. I can't remember his name, but
I got started.
But what they were talking about is how the country had such a huge surplus. They had so much money that they had to find different ways to spend the money, because the country is so rich because of taking money in via tariffs. And it wasn't until after they got rid of tariffs that they started doing the income tax stuff. Right. So
yeah,
and so and that
was World War II too. That was World War II. You got to fund this war, and then after the war was over, they continued the taxes all the way till today.
Yep.
Even though it's supposed to be temporary. But my point is like when listening to her, she says these things. I really don't. I mean, it just feels like it's words to me. I mean, and in some of the cases with him, I feel it a little bit, but I think a lot of what he says, I think he can actually back what he's saying, and not all, but a lot. With her, it's like everything she says is just complete BS. Just to me. Well, I'm not saying to everybody else. To me,
I think if the people that
not everything, but like 90%.
I think that if the people that just think of him as just being a scumbag, which I still think he's a scumbag, but the people that just think of him as a scumbag and just think of him as misogyny and racist and like this and like that, if they would actually listen to that interview, that Joe Rogan interview, if you compare, and of course Kamala says she's not going to do the interview with Joe Rogan, which I think is a huge mistake for her. Well, it is and it isn't. She needs his audience to sign on for her, or she's not going to win. But if she gets on for a 3-hour interview with him, he's going to expose her, for not actually having very much substance. But if people that are just naysayers of Trump, if they would actually watch that interview, I think that interview, it shows that he knows what he's talking about. You might not like the way that he says stuff, but he's actually very knowledgeable. And when you start talking about like building stuff and you start talking about certain policies that are favorable to businesses and all like that, of course he's going to know that. He's going to know that stuff.
He was trying to run the country like a business, which is really interesting because he knew how to do the tariffs. I think the tariff thing is amazing. Also, another big thing he mentioned about drilling for oil, and the oil will make these oil contracts, which will support the dollar, which will keep the dollar from gaining or losing its value. Yep. So that's actually how we used to bolster up the dollar after they took it off the gold standard, was to use oil contracts. So if we start drilling for oil here, our country is going to become far richer. We're actually going to be able to pay off some of these debts using tariffs and oil, and then also bolster the dollar, which I wish he would have said something about backing the dollar with gold, because that would actually really solve a lot. But I think oil contracts would be very strong as well. My whole thing is you're not hiring somebody that you like. He's not your friend. We're hiring somebody to run the country. You don't have to like your boss, right? You don't. I mean, do you want a boss that's your friend that doesn't know what the hell he's doing, or do you want a boss that actually gets the job done and he's a dick sometimes, but at least he gets the job done? You know what I mean? That's the point. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, the way I look at it is, I don't care. You could actually personally insult me, and I might still vote for you because your policies are just better than the other person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're like me. Because I have people say bad stuff about me online. I just laugh at it. Maybe it's my personality. I'm an INTP. I don't know what type of personality you are, but if it doesn't bother you, you're probably not an INTJ, because they tend to get really upset when people say bad things online. That's why if you're on YouTube, you can't take anything people say. You got to take it with a grain of salt, because there are going to be a lot of people that will say bad stuff about you. And if it sticks, they'll keep doing it. Right. So Trump clearly is not an INTJ. I forget what he is. He's an Ian something. I can't remember what he is. But
but IN, that's for introvert. Are you talking about an extroverted feeler? That would be an Ian.
Well, I'm an INTP, and for some reason INTPs
that's
don't really
that's
care.
funny. That's the same as what I am.
You're an INTP also?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I was wondering what you were.
You're so introverted. And then what is it? What is the P for?
I'm trying to remember. You have what is it? INTP, analytical, introverted, analytical, T, thinker, P, perception. I think perceptive.
Yeah, perceiver. Yeah. Right. So, J, the J is for judge, is a judger.
Judge, right?
The P is for perceiver. Yeah.
And the SJ, or when they have an S or a J in it, it's kind of like SJW. They get really feeling oriented and upset. That's why they can't do YouTube.
Well, it's the it's the E that causes that. It's the extroverted feeler part of it that does that.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so
a lot of these guys that are big too, like Andrew Tate, are like E's. I think he's an ENTP, I think.
Yeah. And I think that it's interesting. I think Trump is some kind of E something.
He has like an ENSJ, or I can't remember what he is.
Yeah,
he's ENS something. I don't remember.
But anyhow, so we're talking about we've sort of, most of the conversation has been about Trump and about Kamala. However, there are other options. There are other candidates, and this is one of them. This is the Libertarian presidential candidate. Let's see what he's talking about.
I got started in politics being an anti-war activist opposing the Bush wars during the War on Terror years because I saw a war in Iraq that was manipulated by CIA data to bring our troops into harm's way, and it killed thousands of troops, it killed and displaced millions of Iraqis, and now we have tens of thousands of military veterans who have suffered from suicide due to the trauma they suffered from the United States war machine. So as Commander-in-Chief, the first thing I'm going to do is signaling that we're removing our military footprint from every single continent. We are not the world's police. It is not our job to have to fight wars all over the world. It is not our job to exacerbate conflict in the world. And the best way that we can promote peace is through free trade, free markets, and actually engaging in free commerce and voluntary exchange with nations around the world. Because if I'm selling something to you or I'm buying something from you, I don't have a vested interest in shooting at you. We've been exporting our values around the world with the bomb, the bullet, and the drone, and it has led to further tension against the United States. It is time for us to have a new foreign policy vision. I will be the only nationalist candidate. RFK won't, Joe Biden won't, Donald Trump won't, but I'm saying right now, end genocide, ceasefire now, and support peace around the world. No more proxy wars.
Now, this is interesting. So check this out. And Jill Stein, who is the Green Party.
Well, I wanted to say something about libertarian because you know Ron Paul, he was a famous libertarian, right?
Right.
Yeah. So Ron Paul, what's really interesting is I think Trump has taken up a little bit of Ron Paul's ideas of recent, like with the tax code, with getting rid of taxes. I don't know if this libertarian, is also thinking about getting rid of taxes and maybe using tariffs as well. Maybe he is the guy you were just showing. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know specifically about tariffs, but libertarians are limited government, low tax.
Yeah, limited to government's great. I agree with some of these libertarians on certain things for sure.
Yeah. So one thing that's interesting is now the Green Party is on the left and the Libertarian Party is on the right, but notice that they are both critical of the genocide and the constant nation building, and they're both are talking the same thing with respect to stop being so encumbered abroad and use the resources and money for United States citizens, right? They both talk that way. This is Jill Stein, and she's the Green Party candidate, and she is threatening at perhaps even getting 5% of the popular vote. And if you look at her in these battleground states, especially Michigan, for instance, where there's a large Muslim population, she's getting a higher percentage of the vote than Kamala is, and that community always votes Democrat. And they are voting heavily. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think I saw something about a lot of Muslims are going for Trump too. So there's probably a lot going for Trump. And this lady you're saying, maybe the ones on the left are going for her more, because I heard there's a reason why they're not going for Kamala. I think it has mainly to do with Israel, right?
It's almost all the Gaza issue. It's almost 100% Gaza issue. But let me tell you, when you look at the actual stats, Trump is only getting about 11% of that population, whereas the rest of that population is almost split evenly, but with an edge towards Jill Stein.
It makes sense. It makes sense because Trump. I think what Trump will do is he'll quell the war. He'll probably use tariffs to kind of quell the war. He'll basically suck Iran dry of money, which I'm sure a lot of Muslims are going to like that. But it makes sense, especially if you want to keep peace in the area, you have to get the money out of this, certain hands. And so that's probably what it'll end up doing.
So my primary issue, a primary issue.
The question is Gaza. What will happen with Gaza under Trump? I don't know. It's hard to say.
So I think that their policies in the Middle East will be virtually identical, based on what it is that they have said that they're going to do. That they are going to basically support and back Israel no matter what. That sort of perspective on it. I think that their policy in that part of the world, with respect to that issue in particular, I think is going to be virtually identical, and that's why Jill Stein even has a crack in the door, and it's also why the Libertarian candidate even has a crack in the door, because you can just point at the Gaza issue and say, hey, both you Democrats and Republicans are full of it.
Well, I think there's something strange going on here, though, because it's like some people from Israel back. I feel like there's two factions in Israel or something, because some like Trump and some hate him. And it's just really bizarre how the whole thing works. I think there's a lot of moving parts going on, and I'm not quite sure how it all works. But there is certain people in Israel that definitely love Trump. That's for sure. But it just seems like there's also another faction of Israel that loves, the left more. And maybe it has something to do with the big businesses that are backing the left. I don't know what's going on, but there's something weird going on with that whole thing. And I don't know what will happen with Trump in Gaza, but I do think Iran would be quelled via tariffs. I don't know what's going to happen with Gaza. I do think it's messed up what's going on there, though. I agree with you that it shouldn't be happening.
Yeah,
Maybe he would find a way to stop
think
it, though. I don't know. Maybe he would find a way to, like, how he went to North Korea and just went there and no one expected that. Maybe there'll be some weird thing where he sets up a meeting between the two sides. I don't know. Peace treaty.
Well, the thing is that the Muslim community would have entertained Trump as a possibility if he was if his policy, if what it was that he was going to do was going to be substantially different than what is already happening right now, which Kamala is just going to extend. But anyhow,
I think the one difference is just the war. But I think other than that, the support issues similar, though, like you're saying. But yeah.
All right, let's listen to Jill Stein here.
Jill Stein.
And you are with the Green Party?
I am indeed.
Why are you running?
What is the Green Party and what do you guys stand for?
Green Party is kind of a people-powered party as opposed to the war industry and the war profiteer-powered parties, which are delivering war and oligarchy and genocide and jobs that don't pay squat and housing that you can't afford and a healthcare crisis. Those are the other parties. So the Green Party is a people-powered party. We don't take corporate PAC money. We don't have a super PAC. We don't use the special loopholes so that billionaires can throw in, $600,000 in a single check, which is what, the Democrats and Republicans do. So they've got big corporate players that are pulling the strings from the inside, and what you get is what we have, which is an all-out disaster of crushing inequality, climate collapse, endless war, genocide, and, the collapse of any semblance of a democracy.
What do you say to people that are voting between the lesser of two evils?
Good luck figuring out which one is the lesser evil. I say it's time to fight for the greater good.
Yeah, and that's a strong point that I think that the third party candidates have, is if you want to be able to discontinue the lesser of two evils sort of struggle, then, and you want to have a candidate where you can be like, okay, I can just support this candidate because they're saying the things that I like. I don't have any serious issue with their policies. I can get with it, rather than, well, this is I have to vote against them. I'm voting against Kamala, so I'm going to vote Trump. I'm voting against Trump, so I'm going to vote Kamala. If you don't want to have to do that, then third party candidates, I think, are good options.
I see what you're saying. I'm thinking my only concern is, like, okay, so I see what you're getting at with regards to these third party candidates. With Trump, my whole thing is he going to do it better this time around? Because last time I feel like he failed at the last year. The last year I feel like he screwed up because he started
listening to Fauci.
He was listening to bad people. He was listening to bad people. He shouldn't have stopped the economy. Everyone was telling him you need to print money, all this garbage. And I'm curious if he's going to stick to his own agenda this time, or is he going to let him push him around again? Is he going to get legitimate people? I feel like he's talking a good game. I really hope he's actually going to back up everything he says, and he's not going to fall for this BS like he did last time. I hope he learned from it. That's my concern. Did he learn from these mistakes? Shutting down the economy. He didn't want to shut down the economy, and they all convinced him to do it. That was a really stupid idea. And it was all to enrich these billionaires. They printed all that money. Most of the money went to these billionaires at the top. We're paying a tax called inflation for these not good people at the top. Let's just put it that way. And but a lot of these companies are actually aligned behind the Democrat Party, which a lot of people are not aware of. So BlackRock and JP Morgan are the ones making the most money off these wars. And I actually had I just talked about that on my. Here we go. I can show you real quick on the screen.
All right, give me a second.
So so what happened here is Trump is talking to former UFC champion Khabib, who's a Muslim, by the way. I think he's a Muslim. I'm pretty sure he is. But about stopping the war between Israel and Palestine, and he promised to end both wars. Okay, this is what he said to him. Now, what's interesting is recently a video came out, an undercover video from the Sergey at BlackRock, saying that it's very profitable to BlackRock to have these wars. And we've seen BlackRock pop up left and right all the time, particularly with these attempts, of course, on our former president's life. There was people in these commercials that were the ones that were trying to get him. Okay, that there's some really weird stuff with BlackRock. I mentioned that they just bought a company that is making a lithium mine right in Asheville, where all this hurricane went and dumped all the water. BlackRock and JP Morgan are leading a $15 billion investment to rebuild Ukraine. So they're destroying it to rebuild it. So they're going to make all this money rebuilding it. And what's interesting is the CEO of JP Morgan keeps talking about Jamie Dimon worries World War III has already begun. Yeah, you're making money off it. This guy's making money off the war. It's like a joke. So I think that's why you have Cheney. And by the way, there was a company. I'm trying to remember the name of the company. I can't remember off the top of my head. Some investment company in Austin. I think it was Austin something, like private investment or whatever, that shorted the stock the day before, shorted Trump stock the day before they tried to take him, of course, out. And guess what this company, whose money they handle? Cheney and Bush. That's kind of weird. So so what I was saying is a lot of the big money is behind the Democrats. Although Trump does have his weird connections, like you're saying, and there is some stuff with Israel, and there is some money behind Trump. I think most of it, though, and you got Elon Musk on Trump's side. Elon Musk also, in a strange way, fired all the banks that were working with the former Twitter and took on all the banks that never worked with them. So, there's some weird corporate thing going on here. I think Trump's kind of on the smaller side of the corporate, and the Democrats, all the big corporate jumped on the Democrat side, but there is corporate still behind Trump. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, the worst, the more leechy, evil ones seem to be on the Democrat side right now. They used to be the ones back in Bush and Cheney, the same companies, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Now, there is what you're saying. There is some corporate on Trump's side. The question is he going to literally do what he says he's going to do? That's the question. I'm really hoping he will, right? I'm really hoping he will. I'm really hoping that he sticks to his actual plan and doesn't get compromised like he did last time at the end of his term. The last year, he really screwed up, I feel like. Just totally screwed it up. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would like neither one of them to get in. That if I had my, I would prefer either in my mind.
Well, I would prefer a better person than either one, but I don't know who that would be. Trump does a pretty good job, but the question is he going to stick to his guns? I don't know. That's the question. I don't know who would be better than him.
I'm not sure that him sticking to his guns is necessarily the best thing either, though.
Well, he has to have good advisors, and he had really bad advisors, and that's another thing too. I don't, it's tricky.
Yeah.
It's
so
really
so I would prefer to see, either one of these, the front running third party candidates, the Libertarian or Jill Stein. Now, Jill Stein, I disagree with on the pro life issue, and I disagree with on other matters. But if you got someone in there that wasn't a duopolist, that's what I call Democrats and Republicans now, duopolists. If that is not a duopolist, at least, you would have some different sorts of ideas being circulated in some different attempts. And yeah, you'd still have to deal with Democrats and Republicans, but you can just say, I'm just not going to play ball unless you come this far. You
Well, what do
know,
you think of RFK though? What do you think about him?
RFK's all right, but but primarily he's a Democrat. He just went independent because Democrats kind of moved. They moved a little bit further, and so
Well,
so
they've moved a lot, dude. They've moved a lot. Okay. I mean, eventually all people that were on the left are like, wait, what's going on here? They're like way over there now. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happens to everybody. Even
well,
Bill Maher. Even
so
Bill
what's it?
Maher thinks they went too far.
Yeah, but what's interesting is people like Sabby Sabs, who she's voting for Jill Stein. She's a Green Party kind of third party kind of thing, and she agrees with her on the pro-choice thing. That's the big thing that I disagree with her about. But she's actually she keeps making these points, and so does Jill, about how we're punching to the right, and the reason that the Democrats are getting hit is because they're further right. So it's interesting. In one manner of speaking, the Democrats have moved further right.
Well, it's a circle. I've heard this
Otherwise,
before. It's a circle. It's not like a line. It's a circle. If you go too far left or right, you're going to end up almost in the same place. You're going to become totalitarian and kind of
yeah, but there's also specific things where they made a concerted effort to move further right. Because, so like for instance, Kamala borrowing stuff like no tax on tips, or borrowing some of the language with respect to,
she's trying to win. She's trying to win. She's just
I understand that.
Win, dude. That's it.
Yeah, but you can say the same thing about any candidate. You could say, well, they're saying that because they're trying to win.
Saying it and wanting to actually do it, and
I feel like but you're not going to know the difference. Here's the problem.
The difference. No, we do know the difference because we've seen the track record of both candidates, and unfortunately, she wasn't smart enough to realize that she should have said, when she was asked on The View, is there anything you would have done differently than Joe Biden? Well, actually, I was in every meeting and agreed with him. I'm like, dude, are you serious? You just destroyed your entire campaign on that one interview. She destroyed her campaign right there. It's not even, it's so obvious. That's when her
but what if,
downhill.
So here's the thing. And look, I don't want either one of them to get in there, but what if she wins? But what if she wins? Because all of the polling,
I don't know.
Listen, all of the polling is within the margin of error. In the swings. Now, I understand that in the past, the pollsters have, since they were mostly left leaning, they didn't actually accurately predict the polls. They were left leaning polls. So, say for instance, if it says that it's a tie, then Trump is actually up by 5 points.
Right.
Or if it says that somebody's, so even with that, considering that, it's pretty neck and neck. It's a dead heat. When you see other different folks will talk about it different way. When I see certain more right leaning folks that are reading these polls, the way that they read them, or if you go to Poly Market, and Poly Market has Trump way up.
Gallup had predicted correctly on the last 4 out of 5 elections, and they show Trump as being ahead. So that I mean, there's like things like that where I do agree with you. I think he's about 5 points ahead. I think that's probably pretty accurate. But I mean, the question is it enough? Is there going to be something that flips it right before the end? We've seen kind of how it goes up and down all the time. If Trump really steps in it bad, although he's been winning lately a lot, and she's been losing really bad. If she somehow hits a home run at the end here and he steps in it really bad, there could be a little bit of an issue there. Like if there's a couple, big steps in it on his side and a couple big home runs on her side, which I don't think is going to happen. But if it did, that could bring it a lot closer.
Well, we're talking about 1 week. We're talking about 1 week away.
Right.
Here, let me play the rest of.
Good for it, though.
Let me play the rest of this video, and then I'm going to play this other one. Here, check this out. So here's Jill finishing up.
Campaign that is anti-war,
Oh, wait a minute, I'm not on the right one. Okay, there we go.
Genocide, pro-worker, and climate emergency. So we are essentially the sole opposition and voice of the American people in this race, which is.
So this is interesting. So she's heavier on the climate change stuff, but I am going to say this: I think that the Republicans, to a fault, tend to lean too far away from the climate stuff. I think that there are certain things that are said by the sort of these climatologists or whatever that are things that we should actually pay attention to. But I think that the left is trying to use that as a way to basically tighten up their cronies by imposing, like, everybody has to do electric cars or everybody has to do X, Y, and Z. So they're using it for that purpose, and it's not really because they really care about the earth. But
exactly.
Okay,
They don't give a shit. Trust me, they don't care.
So I think that is true, but I think it's a bad look for the Republicans' gut. Their sort of visceral take of it is to always kind of look down their nose on it, because there is some stuff coming out of that research that is stuff that should be paid attention to.
Well, yeah, of course. See, I mean, but they use it for, it's like you're saying, they use it as a means to make money and to pretend like they're saving the environment when they're actually just charging these carbon credits to make money for themselves. I mean, look, Billy Boy, the computer guy, Gates, he came out with he's invested in a company that's literally chopping down forests to save the earth. I mean, you're chopping down forests to save the earth. Does that even make any sense? I mean, it's so stupid. They say we need to dim the sun, so they dim the sun in Los Angeles with some weird stuff they put in the sky. Oh, this is going to save the earth. Let's dim the sun. This stuff is all retarded. Back in the old days, it was plant a tree. Let's make clean water, clean air. Now it's all about some weird stuff to basically, so BlackRock can make more money, basically. I mean, it's basically what it is. It's some weirdo, pretending like they're saving the environment while they basically try to, like they have this local law 97 in New York City where they actually fine landlords for you breathing. You're breathing CO2, and CO2 is bad for the environment, which it's not, because CO2 is what plants breathe in. And when there's it's all based on this theory that the CO2 is a greenhouse gas that warms the earth, right? Then they had this data come out, this model from NASA that proved it was all BS. And so they stopped calling it global warming. They started calling it climate change. So what would happen?
No, I'm aware. I understand how they're moving the ball, and
more CO2 actually makes more plants, which actually cools the earth. It's the exact opposite of what they were telling us in school. It's all BS. This CO2 actually cools the earth, not heats it up. So they had to change the name. Oh, it's not global warming; it's climate change. And so they like. Well,
they also use this
games.
Yeah, they also use this stuff to promote their real agenda, which is population control, and that's why
and to make you broke, and to make you broke, because they want you to have electric everything, which is actually backwards if you understand. Because electricity, where does it come from? My background is power plant technology. The electricity comes from a power plant, which is coal. It's the same as gas in your car. It's actually more.
Yeah, I just made this point. I just made this point this morning.
It's less efficient and more polluting. So it's like they're just lying to make money. It's so annoying.
I just made that point this morning. There's a lot of stuff that's bogus. Yeah. Or even stuff like the way I say it is, if you would prefer to hug a tree to a person, then that's when I look at you sideways, because people, in my mind, people are always more important than things. And yes, you have to protect the earth, because if you don't protect the earth, people are gonna suffer. But this idea that we're overpopulated, we could probably take 2 to 3 times the population that we have and be just totally fine, because most of the places on Earth are not even inhabited. I mean, look,
Congo is swamp the size of Texas. Nobody there hardly.
If you look at United States, most of the United States is just a bunch of land with nobody there.
Trees. Yeah, national parks, which the government owns and controls. So it's all about control, like you're saying, because they want to have less people so they're easier to control. That's why they don't want you to have extra kids. They definitely don't want you to have 2 wives. That would be crazy. They want you to be gay and trans so you have no kids. And it's so obvious. Everything that they promote is anti-family, less population, less people. Every single thing, even the environment stuff, all of it's anti-people because they want.
Yep.
It's just like in the Bible. You had Moses, right, in Egypt. What happened? Abraham, and then they went to 2 point some million people in like 100 years or however long it took. I don't remember how long it took. A couple 100 years. So they went from like nobody to like massive because he kept having tons of kids, and they're like Egypt's like scared, like these people are growing too fast. We can't control them. Let's enslave them now. So it's like it's just the government trying to control people, just like you said, man. That's all it is.
Let's play the rest of this.
Why they want to keep us off of the ballot.
Now the issue that everyone is talking about, very controversial. What side are you on, Drake or Kendrick?
Oh.
Drake or Kendrick?
Okay. Yeah, that's just silly. All right. Now this guy, and this is before the debate. This is before.
Oh, this is that Ellen guy. Okay, go ahead.
So this guy, he has been right the last 8 elections. What was it? 9 out of 10 or something like that. And so he gives what his prediction is, and this is back in September before the debate with Trump, the Trump and Kamala. Here we go.
Who do you predict, sir, will win the 2024 presidential election?
Based on my system, the keys to the White House, which has been right since I predicted Ronald Reagan's reelection in April 1982, Kamala Harris will become the first woman president, and she will be the first president of African and East Asian mixed descent.
Based on your model, these are...
Of course, that's not correct because she's not African at all.
Well,
but let's keep
also,
going.
he's incorrect. It's hilarious because his main competitor is named Nate Silverman, and he's mocking him online, and he's getting pissed. This Allen guy is talking is getting pissed because Nate says your own keys say Trump wins. You just don't know how to use your own keys. Because he believes all the news that he sees on his phone and doesn't believe they're lying to him, this Allen guy. So he just believes everything he reads on the news, and he's using his keys with all the fake, news on his phone to apply his keys to figure out who wins. Nate Silverman can see through that and says, you don't even know how to use your own keys, dude. And actually, the guy's been getting pissed lately, but go ahead, man.
Are your 13 keys. It's true or false questions that look at the strength and the performance of the party that's in the White House. What leads you to that conclusion, Professor, that it's Kamala Harris who will win?
We don't look at polls. We don't pay attention to pundits who don't have a scientific basis. It takes 6 or more negative keys to count out the White House party, Kamala Harris, and the Democrats. I find definitively they have only lost 4 keys. The mandate key, because they lost U.S. House seats in 2022. The incumbency key, because it's now an open seat. The incumbent charisma, because whatever you may think of Harris, she's not a Franklin Roosevelt, one of those once-in-a-generation, transformational, inspiring candidates. That's 3. 4 is foreign policy failure. Gaza is a humanitarian disaster with no end in sight, and the U.S. is very heavily invested there. So that's only 4 keys down, 2 keys short of a predicted defeat.
What about the fact that your keys and your prediction have come before?
Go ahead.
He thinks some of the keys have to do with the economy, and he actually believes the BS that's put out in the news about the economy, that the inflation's low, which is not, because they use a different formula today than they did in the 1980s. So they use a completely different formula to figure out the job rates, the inflation, and they're literally lying using fake formulas. And the guy's not smart enough to know that. Nate Silverman, his main competitor, is smart enough to know that. And I've been analyzing the economy for like years on YouTube, and a couple years at least. And the fact is, the guy just doesn't even know how to use his own keys because he just believes the BS that's in the news. That's the problem with the guy. If he actually understood how to look through the news and actually find the truth and then apply it to his keys, then he would know who's going to be the winner. That's the problem.
Yep.
So
Tonight.
according to his main competitor, Trump's going to win using his exact same keys. And he's getting pissed on Twitter about it because the guy's mocking him over it. But
okay, let's keep going here.
The only debate between these two candidates.
I deliberately issued my predictions before the debate to get across to people of the U.S. and the world that it's governance, not campaigning, that counts. Debates do not predict election outcomes. Hillary Clinton won the debates and still lost. John Kerry won the debates in 2004 against a very bad debater, George W. Bush, and still lost. I'm not saying you shouldn't watch the debate and gain insights from the debate. I'm saying we need to break out of this meaningless horse race theory that gives us negative, soundbite-driven campaigns.
I want to show you this. Show my screen. I'll show this. This is from Nate. His name's Nate Silver, not Nate Silverman. Okay, let me get it on the screen a little bit better. The funny thing is if you actually apply his keys correctly based on how he's applied them in the past, they predict Trump victory. More about this soon, LOL. That's his main competitor, who also predicts most elections correctly as well. His name's Nate Silver. And then Alan Lichtman, Nate, you don't have the faintest idea about how to apply my keys. You are neither a historian or a political scientist or have any academic credentials of any kind. Remember, you were wrong when you said the keys would early predict Obama's reelection. Could early predict? I don't know what he's talking about there, but well, Obama was reelected too, though. Let's see what else I got here. Okay, Nate Silver again. Alan, let's just say the little tricks you played with the keys in the past will come back to haunt you. The keys shall be respected. They will outlast this little rivalry of ours, and they clearly predict a Trump win. It's kind of funny, man. So his own main competitor says he doesn't even know how to apply his own keys, which I was thinking this before I even read this. Like before I even heard about this Nate Silver, I actually went through his keys myself, and I was like, this guy don't even know how the economy is. He thinks the economy's good. What is this guy? Drink Kool-Aid? Watching, MSNBC and CNN all day? Clearly the economy's not good. Anybody that has two brain cells knows the economy's no good, right? I mean, everybody knows this pretty much, but for some reason, some people don't know this, including this distinguished Alan Lichtman, which apparently can't even figure out the economy's terrible. So, I don't know. It's kind of funny.
All right, let's see here. We've got, let's do some polls. Here we go. Here's,
The 2024 election is just 1 week away, and today we'll be taking a look at the updated 2024 electoral map based on current polling averages. A lot of the final polls have already been released. CNN, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, they've already released their final polls, and so not much is going to change after this. We are going to have some new data, but this is going to be the second to last time that I do this for the 2024 race. And so with all the safe states filled in, there simply isn't much data from them. Nothing is really changing. We're only going to focus on the races that are even remotely competitive. It is going to be this group of roughly 20 states that are actually going to have a say in who the next president is going to be. And so we'll begin in Nevada. The silver state hasn't gone red since 2004, but today signs are indicating that Trump is on track to flip Nevada, a state he lost by 2 points in both of the last two elections. Trump leads by 0.7% on average and leads in about half of all the recent polls. Nevada is definitely competitive, though. I would say it is the most competitive state in the entire country, next to Michigan. And if you look at how the state has polled over the last few months, Harris was ahead for basically all of September, but as we got into October, her numbers really started to decline. And so Trump is in a very good position right now. He is probably going to win Nevada. It is going to be tilt Republican on our map. Next up in Arizona, we have another state that Trump didn't win in the last election. He lost Arizona by 0.3 of a percentage point to Joe Biden. Previously, Trump actually carried the state by nearly 4 against Hillary Clinton. But just like in Nevada, polls are signaling for a Trump flip. The former president leads by 1.5% in virtually all of the polls that have been released throughout the month of October. Kamala Harris Harris doesn't really have too much of a chance here. And unlike in Nevada, Kamala Harris was never really leading in Arizona. There was basically a 1 to 2 day period where she was ahead during the Democratic convention. That was when she peaked in terms of her support. But ever since, Trump's lead has generally been growing. He's been able to hold on to this 1 to 2 point lead. And considering that polls almost always underestimate him, Donald Trump is going to win Arizona. It is going to be lean Republican on our map. In Colorado and New Mexico, we don't have that much data. We actually don't even have a polling average from Colorado, but Harris does lead by 11%. This is a Democrat-sponsored poll, though, so you do have to take these numbers with a huge grain of salt. Obviously, Harris is not going to win Colorado by a double-digit margin. She'll be lucky if the state even goes to her by 7 points or more. But based simply on the data that we have, the race is going to be likely Democratic. And then down in New Mexico, the vice president is ahead by 7.7. The latest Albuquerque Journal poll shows her leading by 9. She's very unlikely to outperform.
Okay, here, let's see here. Let's keep going here.
Got a bunch of videos.
To outperform Joe Biden, who carried New Mexico by 11 points. It's going to be a single-digit race this time around. Probably it'll go to Harris by less than 7, maybe even less than 5. But based on the data right now, the election is going to be likely blue in New Mexico. Down in Texas, this is going to give Trump a huge boost. There is no doubt he is going to win the Lone Star State. It was supposed to be close back in 2020. People thought that Biden would get within 1 to 2 points of winning or potentially even win the state. Now, that was always impossible. Texas is not going to flip blue for another 2 to 3 decades at the very minimum. There's so many people that Democrats have to flip over if they actually want to win the state. I mean, Texas is a huge state with 40 electoral votes now. Donald Trump is the clear favorite. He leads by 6% in the polls. He's ahead pretty consistently.
Okay, so I'm not going to play all of that. I'm going to play the sort of concluding thing right here.
All right.
So let me show you where the polling is right now. Once again, these are the polling averages, the Hill Decision Desk HQ Election Center. All right, so you look at that and you say, whoa, big lead there for Trump, right? He does lead in 6 of the 7 states, but let's look at the numbers. 1.5 in North Carolina, 1.3 in Arizona, and then Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, all under 1%. Michigan is tied. All of this stuff is within the margin of error. So when we talk about the 7 key states, when we talk about how do you get to 270 and who gets there and where the polling is right now, all of it razor thin stuff heading down into the home stretch.
Okay. So that's looking like Trump is doing well. Let's look at this real quick. This one was interesting. Let's see here.
0.6.
Here we are. This is the national race 1 week out. This is the snapshot.
And we say it's close, but I think one thing to keep in mind, too, is remember.
Now, look at this. All of these are within like a week, but you still see there's like variance. So it's saying that Harris is up on their reading.
The last 2 elections when Donald Trump ran looked very different at this point. So Harris with an advantage nationally now on average of 1.1 points over Trump. 4 years ago, on this day, the national poll average was Joe Biden by 7.4 points. Look at that difference. Go back to 2016. On this day, Hillary Clinton's advantage was 4.6. So the polling has just been much tighter this time around for a long time now.
There were polling misses in 2016 and 2020, so we'll see how much of a differential that is. Let's look at the battlegrounds. We vote by electoral college. This is where the votes really count. Show us about these swing states.
Yeah, and I mean, you could just see how tight they are. We have the candidate who's ahead sort of here, but the margins are so slim. One thing to think about, though, look at the 3 where Harris does have a small advantage. If she does hold Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, if there's no surprise anywhere else, she will have exactly 270 electoral votes. And from Trump's standpoint, to show you how tight this is, look, the poll right now has him, the average has him slightly ahead in North Carolina, slightly ahead in Georgia. If he gets those 2, all he would need to get exactly 270 is to change Pennsylvania, where the average right now is just 0.6 of 1 point to Harris. Do that, and Trump has exactly 270.
Well, that explains why the candidates have been parked in Pennsylvania for the last couple of months for the most part. Here we are. This is.
So
I was going to say, I'm thinking, though, a lot of people don't realize that Hillary won the popular vote, right?
Yep.
But Trump still won. So That's another thing people don't
But that
realize is
happens
just
frequently.
because yeah. So that could easily happen this time again. Even I mean, I don't think she'll get the popular vote. It looks like almost a tie. It's like really close on the popular vote. But I'm thinking it because of like you were saying, it's sometimes skewed as well. You know, like with the polls. So I'm thinking he might be slightly ahead even with that factor in mind. Because I mean, she was 4%, 4.6% ahead, right? And Biden was 7% ahead, 7.4 or something like that. At that same exact time so I don't know. I'm just thinking that he could theoretically win the popular vote, or maybe he'll lose it and still win the election. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Or it could be like just something goes really wrong at the end, which I don't think will happen based on kind of how things are going currently. She's going to have to pull off a Hail Mary or something, which, by the way, I should talk about that as well. You heard about the thing where she, some guy in her rally said Jesus is Lord, and then she said you're at the wrong rally.
Yep.
Yeah. Then after that, the very next day, she went to a big Baptist church, and then ever since, she keeps talking about her faith. Like every time I turn around, she went to Club Shay Shay. She's like, "Yeah, as soon as I heard that I was going to be the candidate, I called my pastor." I'm like, seriously? So like everything now is all about faith every
Goodness.
time.
I gotta tell you. See, I don't
It's so funny, dude.
I don't believe these folks at all. I mean, your biggest issue is baby deletion. That's your biggest issue. And
yeah, you're at the wrong rally. We want baby deletion, man. not the little Jesus thing going on here. Yeah, I know. It just seemed kind of funny to me, but it's getting late though, man. We've talked a lot of stuff. What do you think? You got anything left?
Let me just show you this one last thing, and this is the sort of celebrities' take on the Joe Rogan Donald Trump interview. And by the way, JD Vance is going to do an interview with Joe Rogan. I think that interview is going to be on Wednesday. That's well, technically it's today for us, but so I think it's later today. I'd be really interested in that because if Joe can make Trump sound as good as he sounded on that, it makes me very curious about what JD Vance is going to sound like, who is very polished and super sharp and very knowledgeable. And so I think that's going to be, could be an interesting conversation. So let's go ahead and listen to this.
Many celebrities have reacted to Joe Rogan's podcast episode with Donald Trump. First, Hulk Hogan said, "Trump for win." Next, The Rock said, "Gotta say, whatever you think, it was an interesting watch." Next, Will Smith said, "Got a lot of thoughts on this." Next, Sylvester Stallone said, "Exactly what America needs to see right now." Next, Adam Sandler said, "Hats off to Rogan for always providing an interesting, informative, and most importantly, entertaining experience." And finally, Stone Cold Steve Austin said, "Need to stop giving men like Trump a platform." Donald recently made a shock appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience after fans had been desperate for him to appear on it for many years. Donald had been doing the rounds on the podcast circuit for several months now, but Joe's was a notable absence. He stunned fans by appearing on the show, and Joe and Donald spoke about a wide range of topics for over 3 hours. Some fans are excited about the episode and think it was an entertaining and informative listen. They think that Joe gave Donald a chance to speak openly, and they appreciate Joe's ability to ask questions that draw out interesting responses. They think it was refreshing to see someone give Donald an open platform to share his views. Other fans are critical of Joe for having Donald on the show, saying that he shouldn't be giving him a platform. They think this episode could contribute to further polarizing opinions, and that Joe should be more careful with his guest choices. Some fans are just intrigued by Joe and Donald being on the same episode. They say it was fascinating to see the mix of perspectives and personalities, even if they didn't agree with everything. One fan said, "Rogan always delivers interesting content even when it's controversial. This episode was no different, and it was good to hear what Donald had to say." Another fan said, "Giving Donald a platform feels irresponsible. Joe should have thought twice before inviting him on, especially considering the influence his show has." For this video's comment question, did you like the podcast? Before you go, be sure to give this video...
Okay. So, mixed reviews from folks that you'd expect to have those sort of takes on it. I'm covering this interview all week. So tomorrow morning's show, one of the segments will be a continuation of my coverage of that interview. So if you all want to check that out, come back, check it out.
What about did you hear about Undertaker? I think he interviewed Trump as well. Also, I had something of a celebrity saying something about Kamala. If you want to show it on the screen, this is kind of crazy. You know Mel Gibson, right?
Yeah.
So Mel Gibson apparently said that she has the IQ of a fence post, and he said some other stuff too. I can actually show it on the closed caption here. What do you say? An appalling track record, no policies to speak of, and an IQ of a fence post. So that was Mel Gibson. a little bit on the conservative side, and just tells you what he thinks straight up, So he's not like The Rock, where it's like, oh, it was interesting, and doesn't say anything else. He just tells you exactly what he thinks,
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's got some big opinions, so
yeah. So anyhow, so we've got 1 week until the election, and so hopefully the information that we presented makes it easier for people to make a decision, or causes you to reevaluate some things or whatever else. But this is going to be crazy. I'll be glad when this is over, because
it's not going to be over though. At first, it's going to go into January, just like lots of crazy stuff.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know. I could be wrong. Mostly peaceful protests, fire everywhere.
Yeah,
buildings burning down.
I just don't want to. I'll be happy when I can. I just don't want to. I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore.
By next year, after Christmas, it should be all over. Once the New Year's hit, should be all done. Hopefully. Worst case, February should be over. Worst case, I'm thinking worst case.
All right, folks, that's our time, and we will see you next time. Peace.
All right, see you guys.